what's called?
Oh, well, you sort of class the wool on the sheep's back, and also confirmation of the body of the sheep. You discard it if it's not up to standard. You can get a more even line of wool.
So, okay, so sort of improving the quality of wool that way. And sometimes I've heard the expression, not very, this idea of buying off the sheep's back and all that much. Did Dad ever do that with you guys?
Oh yes, I think we did a couple of times.
Yeah? It's a bit risky, isn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Why not?
Well, they generally, the market was up at the time, and you could secure it, you know, cover yourself for in case the market fell, whether there was a possibility it might go up. I don't think we ever did it more than a couple of times. You know, it'd be only 2 or 3 months in advance, perhaps.
So that was your favour?
Oh, I wouldn't say the favour, but I think we did it on a couple of occasions I can remember. More often than not, it was done at shearing time, as it was being shorn.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. Did you experience much frustration, say, like sending the wool down to the, once you send the wool down to the floor, if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much the big houses would control when the clip itself was actually sold.
No, it was always, I think it was paid within 14 days of being in the store.
Like if you sold to elders, or if you...
Oh, well, if you sold to the stock firms, that was different.
Yeah.
They had to wait to go to auction.
And then they could choose the timing, I gather, and that would influence a lot of the price.
Well, they wouldn't choose the time. You always had the choice of time, but see, you couldn't always get it in. You had to wait. Sometimes you couldn't get in the next sale, or perhaps a couple of sales they had a backlog of, you know, because they only allocate so much for each sale. That was perhaps where they had a little advantage over the selling privately. You got your money quicker.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you could get it within 14 days, I think, once it landed in Perth.
Yeah. So the big houses, they wouldn't mess you around, sort of like say, no, we want to hold on till the price gets better and stuff.
Oh no, you had control of it, I think, as far as that goes.
The farmer,
The farmer, but you wouldn't be able to necessarily get in to the next sale, sort of thing. You had to, you know, you'd perhaps miss out a month or something like that, 6 weeks.
And then would they just send you a check, the big houses, or would they say, oh no, you owe us such and such? And
oh well, it depends what your situation was in. If they had lots of times I suppose the farmers would have to get a lien from their stock firm to pay for the shearing, things like that.
And in the 50s and 60s, you already had fairly big machinery. Wouldn't that have been quite a burden? I imagine you wouldn't buy a combine in cash. I imagine you'd buy it on terms, or maybe I'm guessing wrong.
No, not necessarily, because a lot of the plant in those days well, I suppose it was dear to what we were getting, but nothing like what it is today.
So you could just buy it.
Most farmers, a lot of them would have perhaps bought it and paid it off at harvest or something like that.
So yeah, the one. That's interesting. And
the shearing, the cost of shearing wasn't that great either. See now I think it's about $3.40 a head contract or something like that. It's a lot. They're only getting, I think it's only $60 or $70 a hundred or something like that. In my time.
And has I know that wheat sort of changed because of the size of the machinery. Has wool changed? I mean, outside of the market,
No,
shearing's the same thing.
shearing's gone up threefold and the price of wool stayed about the same.
I mean, that's the cost.
Oh, the cost of it.
When you say it's gone up 3 times, what do you mean?
Well, the cost of shearing
The cost, yeah.
has gone up.
But the machinery and quantities and all that, in terms of mechanization, has it changed or techniques?
Little bit, they've helped a bit, but the actual price of the wool has not gone up anywhere near the cost of everything else.
And sort of going back to the wool buyers, no, you maybe you sort of touched on it when you said there was a few times you sold off the sheep's back when the market was good. Were there cases you remember when I don't know, you sold, you were offered a certain price, and then either the price went up the next day or fell rapidly the next day? Do you remember those sort of incidents?
It probably occasionally had to, it went down a couple of cents, but, we didn't do it all that frequently. It was only a couple of times that we did it, sold on the sheep's back. But it was pretty much a certainty that we were well covered.
Okay, I gathered that. But say the times you didn't sell on the sheep's back, were the times that you remember where the price fluctuated and either you thought you did really well that you'd sold then, or you regretted that you hadn't kept on to your will for another few weeks or something?
It generally turned out, we reckon we did quite well out of it. We weren't ever dissatisfied over it.
Okay. And
because we did it for quite 20 years or so.
And where did the wool buyers make their profit?
Oh, well, they had margins, I say. They'd be probably making 2 cents a kilo or something like that, or pound, perhaps it was when they were in the early days. They just had a margin that, and they got just 2 cents or something more than what they were paying us, whatever the margin was.
But there were times when, I mean, I sort of had it, I don't have like specific examples, but I've sort of heard of things like, like 1 or 2 buyers that maybe, that put a great emphasis on good relations with the farmers, and sort of, well, these are stories I'm hearing secondhand already, but that they wouldn't make a killing. That it was more important to hold on to the good relationship with the farmer rather.
Probably so.
So I'm not quite sure if that's a question of the margin not being too big, or if the market fluctuated, maybe they'd somehow.
Yeah, but see, they had. Your father would have had. Well, he often he could say, "Oh, just hang on, I'll ring head office tonight, and I'll get the latest. I might be able to offer you a cent more tomorrow." So that's how it operated. They sort of they couldn't do it. They didn't have mobile phones or anything like that. They'd have to wait till they got back, to the hotel wherever they were staying, and ring up that night to get the latest. If there was expected a change between they knew what their margins were, and they were covered by the warehouse. And what they do. I think for the value of certain quality wool, the yield was the main thing, because they could. Microns didn't come into it quite as much, I don't think, in the early days.
What's the difference between
yield
and microns? I know what, there's a little crinkles.
Is the is the diameter of the fibre. The yield is how much it will yield after it's scoured.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And well, how would you know? You would only know that afterwards, or you could?
Well, like your father would, you know, doing it, he got a very good
An eye for it.
eye for it, and with experience of each clip and all the rest of it, they had a pretty good judgment of that. Probably the only, I think you always reckon it was if they got grass seeds and things like that in it, that was harder to judge.
Hard to judge.
Mm.
You certainly have a certain amount of dust in the
Well, dust, yeah. Well, they could.
natural.
I seemed about to cover that. But I think it was the seed in it was harder to judge, and they were always far more concerned about seed than, especially in the the top lines.
So, are you sure there wasn't anything about fluctuation? Because I remember my dad had this favourite story, and I can't remember who the farmer was. Probably from the early days where there was this. Either they made a mistake in the contract, but I think it was quite a big fluctuation in the price. And he went back the next day and said, "Listen, I'm offering you to tear the contract up, because you got too much of a bum deal here."
Mm.
And I can't remember what they decided to do, but
Oh no, he was very honest about things like that. All the dealings we ever had with him, he always wanted to do the right thing by everybody.
well, he also had an interest,
Oh, yes,
long-term interest as well.
He was.
No, I think it's a question of nature.
Yeah, and he was,
Character.
took it to heart very seriously.
Yeah, I think he prided himself very much on his ability to go out, to be able to get on with people and get on with a lot of people. And in fact, towards the end, I sort of really had this sense that I never spoke to him directly on the point, but I had this sense from people visiting him that he really liked the visits he had. He was sick, in the last couple of years, and the Australians, I think, really liked and appreciated the directness. It was really direct conversation, and you could talk about his sickness with him, and he didn't have to beat around the bush with all sorts of politeness.
Mm.
And I think he really liked it. I don't know if he always appreciated that, or it's something that with time, I think he really liked the country people.
Yes, I think he had there was something there that he could relate to, you see, in both ways probably.
His father he came from he didn't come from a big city.
Mm.
He came from a town, but his father was a grain merchant anyway. And not too different.
To what we were doing.
To what he was doing. Even though he had a trade, like as a teenager he'd learned a trade.
Oh yeah.
Sort of like in the direction of tailoring. So and when he came to Australia, at first he did work in Melbourne.
Mm.
But maybe that sort of old family connection through his father in grain sort of hit a chord or something. Yeah.
What year did he give up the wool by?
I'm not too sure, but sometime in the 80s, I reckon. I think in the 80s.
Don Williams would be able to tell you probably, because he's he's still there, and he's fairly up with all that.
Yeah, I suppose spoke to his wife a couple of times. And it's always been her that answered the phone. Yeah, and the other thing, I don't know what, because I don't know if you have an opinion. I think the fact that they went to the country, you know, like there's a bunch of foreign guys that were that, you know, maybe you know, didn't even have much of a handle on the language, so they're not reading it. Writing, I think my dad was always embarrassed about writing, till the end. Like he could read, but you know, he never got the formal English education. Like maybe he should have done that. Sort of gone to school and gone to some sort of external school and. Okay, let's start with introduction of name and where you're from, etc.
Okay.
Try and make it relaxed. It's not for TV. It's just.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
I don't know what we'll do with it. So Malcolm.
Syme.
Okay.
I am Malcolm Syme. I used to sell wool to Ken Franks. I lived in Bunteen, a little place halfway between Dalwallinu and Perenjori. Approximately 200 miles. You can convert it back to kilometres. 200 miles north of Perth, slightly east.
Mm-hmm.
The family had farmed there for a long time. I can remember when Dad started coming around. So that's the background. We used to sell our wool to Ken. And I will say this because I want to say it, Mark, is that Dad's word was his bond, and not just talking about Jewish people, we're talking about lots of people, their word is not their bond any longer. But Dad was one of those. Ian Reid will back that up. He said, Malcolm, he said, spot on. He said, that's exactly what Ken was. We shook hands, the deal was done. If you said to Ken, you know, he would come around, you've been with your dad, he would come around to go back to the beginning. It was amazing, but I always knew when you were starting shearing. The first day that shearing came on, bull boy would walk in the door. And obviously the shearers would say to him, oh, we're going to so-and-so's next, you see, so. And he would come in and have a look, and he was just looking at it, have a fair idea what sort of season was, because he was buying all the time. And he would look at it and then come back later on when you were doing a different mob of sheep, if you were doing ewes or wethers or lambs or whatever. Then we'd sort of start talking about price, and he would say, well, I can get you 130 cents a kilo or 430 cents a kilo.
Mm-hmm.
No, you want another, you're talking about a lot of kilos, so you want another few cents. And
I'm listening.
you'll be able to edit this as you need it.
No, I don't.
You know, so you say, I want another 4, 5 cents, Ken. You've got to be able to, it comes out like this, no, come on, Ken, you can get more than that. Oh, I tell you, this is the best I can do. No, come on. So in the end, this may take an hour and a half, 2 hours, during which time there'll be a afternoons or morning smoke home and have a cup of tea. Yep, always help yourself. I will come back. Give me 3 days, I will come back with your 5 cents. Come back. I can only do 4. All right, we shake hands, that's it. Nothing was signed at the time, not at all, till the wool was finished, when they finished the clip. Okay, how much you reckon you'll have sometimes? I said, how much you going to have? In later years, when things changed a bit, they'd say, well, all right, will you have 140 bales of wool? We will advance you $100 a bale. You can, his company would pay the shearers if you like interest-free loan for a while, whatever. But then when the shearing was finished, and you knew how much wool was all baled up, then he would come in with his big book and would work out how many of this and how many of that, and then generally he would say, well, I can give you this much for this wool and that much for your 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and the bits and pieces. And they like to know their buyers, their wool growers, because some people were not as fussy at pulling all the dirty bits off, so that the clean wool would be fairly well skirted, as they call it. But you get a little bit of dirt in it and it stains, and the stain goes through, the wool's pressed very tightly and the stain goes through. You maybe know these things, but
No, not
that's
quite
what
that.
Dad looks for. That's what, and he watches that. You know, I know, he knows what people are like, and he would know whether if the shearing shed was clean. If the shearing shed was clean, then that was also, your wool would be pretty clean because you would not be getting all sorts of sticks, or some people with bits of hair off the broom, you know, all those things, because it comes back on him from company that he's buying for. And something else which Ian Reid will tell you too is that with Dad you would say, okay, that's the clip, 140 bales of wool or whatever you had, and look, there's a few odd bits here you couldn't fit in a bale, and a bit here, a bit there, and he'd say, all right, well that'll come to about $250. I haven't got it on me today. Pack it all up. It's trucked away. I'll be back when I've got the money. And Dad would come back in 3 days, 3 weeks, wouldn't matter. He would come up and say, "There's the money." Now that's how he was received all through the wheat belt, as far as I know. I don't think there was anyone that just were happy. You know, Dad was different in that some like to just treat it as a complete business. We're here, I'll make my extra $1 out of you, that's it. Dad, you know, he even belonged to the bowling clubs up there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he didn't live in the community, but he was part of the community. You know, he was a good guy. He really was. Your Dad,
Okay.
you know. They were. It wasn't derogatory, but they'd say, "Oh, you will buy." Now, Dad used to make me laugh because, and this is just because I want to tell you all the sides of it. He would come in, he would get a bit of wool, and you flick the piece of wool through your fingers, see that it's good strength. Yeah, that's pretty good. You try another bit. Yep, that's not bad. I used to say to him, I'd say, all those little bits end up in your pocket, kid. If you don't buy this wool, anyway, yeah. But these are the little things that you could have once you got rapport with somebody, that you could do. Now, I don't know when Dad first came, do you?
Yeah, up to the region? I would say that. I think I don't know if he started with he probably started going to the country in the early 50s.
Right.
I know there was a time I'll turn this off. I think it might be. Where were we? That was.
We were talking about Dad and.
It was like you said, come back. It'd say.
Yeah, and about the little bit. Oh no, I think I was saying that some of them were talking about that's here comes the Jew wool buyer. Oh, and some people got frightened, and they weren't being derogatory, but that's what they were. That's how they treated them. That's how they spoke to them. But they were very good at business. I think we were talking before we finished about. I asked you when Dad started.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, and you said about 50.
And Mum would know better.
Yeah.
Well, they married in 56.
Okay.
And I remember Dad used to talk about there was a bit of a boom with when the sewers
Yes, there was.
thing
Yes,
was on, and then he said that ended quick, much sooner than whatever apparently all the mill owners had been banking on,
Right.
and suddenly the floor fell out of the market,
Yes.
and then he went roost shooting for a while.
Yes.
So I don't know when he started going back to the. I was born around that time.
Right.
I was born 57, and I don't know if it was the late 50s or early 60s. That
I think it was about the beginning of the 60s when he went back, and when he continually went back.
It probably would have been a bit earlier. Well, certainly Mum can fill in on that,
Yeah.
because they bought their first house in 62. So I'm sure he was already on the wool game there.
Yes. Yes.
And
yeah.
I imagine he wasn't just absolutely starting, because I don't think he would have taken that
Yeah.
sort of deal on when if he was just starting a new job.
Who did he buy for to start with?
I think in that stage it would have been Rex Robertson.
Yes. And
I remember going to the sometimes with him
yes.
near the Dingo
Yes, that's right,
You
down
think
from
of
Fremantle,
Flower,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, Sam Wendy bought for Max Robson too.
Yeah,
Robson
a lot
was
of-
R-O-B-S-O-N, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rex. A lot of the
yeah Rex
lot
Robson.
of the Jewish wool buyers seem to work for him, and I don't know the details, but he gave a lot of them the chance to work and sort of encourage them to work.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
And I sort of actually, people have done research before me, and I've spoken to a few other people, and well, in Sam Wendy, I'll ask you about Sam. It's like people from the pre-war generation that started working 20s, 30s, Depression era.
Yeah.
Often they would go down with fruit and veggies, and I gather Sam Wendy also used
He
to
did.
have
Yes.
fruit and veggies,
Yeah.
and then they come back with whatever they could get, scrap metal
Yes,
and whatever.
anything, yes, right.
And then, and in the with the in if it was a depression or it was with the Kero
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
Kero petrol things,
yeah, yeah.
and maybe somehow they get a bit of oddments or something and say, in the way I heard was, oh, you got this. What else have you got to sell?
Yes,
I said, oh, take that thing away. You know, that bale of wood. It's just messing up.
yes.
And,
Now,
and then it sort of somehow
yep,
wheeled.
I have another name. I have another name for you. When you go to Woburn,
Yeah.
and it would be worth ringing up beforehand, and that is to go and see Albert Rayner.
Albert. I'm in touch with his brother. Not Albert.
No, his son Paul, his brother Arnold.
Arthur.
Arnold. Oh no,
Arthur
Arthur
Rayner
Rayner's
left
not his.
He left a long time ago.
Yep, Arnold. Arnold is in. Where did we go to see Arnold? Buy rams off him? Off at Brookton.
Yeah.
Arnold's is at Brookton. Albert has sold his farm but he had a very large farm. Because your dad said to me once, he said, I went to Albert's place, I bought the oddments, $3,000 worth, lying around the shit.
Where would he be now, Albert?
Albert spends a lot of time in Woburn with Peters, which is my cousin's son. There's a connection in the family there.
Okay.
But he would give you some fairly interesting,
That'd be nice.
because he was selling wool to Dad for a long time too.
So would that Albert would be like Arthur's brother or something like that?
Arnold is the one at. I don't know an Arthur Rayner.
They left decades ago. They live in Perth still. He'd be somewhere between 85 and 90.
Yeah, he is a different Rayner.
Ah.
There's quite a few Rayner families in
They
there.
were I don't know exactly. I think Baptist or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, different Rayners.
Different altogether.
Different altogether. Altogether different. But he would certainly have some interesting things to tell you,
Try and get
because
onto
he
that.
lives very close to Woburn and he had a lot of wool, and I think you'd find him interesting.
That's
anyway,
right.
to get back to what used to happen, and you mentioned something about tailors. Now, quite a lot of the Jewish wool buyers seem to know a tailor somewhere also, because Dad, my father, when Sam Wendy used to come round, Dad used to go to a tailor's in Perth, and I thought they had some connection with Sam Wendy.
Don't know about Sam. Maybe I heard from someone. Does the name Shiner mean anything to you?
Shiner, yes, Shiner was one. Reisman was another one.
Reisman's my contemporary and competitor of my father.
I think he was.
Wendy was pretty much before. I think Dad took over some of his run.
Shiner, yes.
Not Shiner so much. Wendy, Sam Wendy.
Yep.
Shiner died before I was born.
Yep.
The funny thing is I had no idea, but I found out this week that I went right through school with his grandson. I had no idea
Did you?
that they had wool buyers and a couple of guys like
Tea,
their
thank you
fathers
very
were
much.
doctors
Tea
and
or
stuff
coffee?
like.
Other tea, please. White tea, thanks.
Yeah, that's great, buddy.
I just have black tea, thank you.
Black for the Mrs. Syme.
Yep.
I don't know if she had.
My name's Janet.
Janet.
Janet,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So because Shiner, Reisman. Now I realise this is all on video, but now Mr. Reisman didn't have the same rapport, in my opinion,
Yes,
as what your dad or Sam Winnie did. Your dad and Sam Winnie were two of a breed, and the rest came after that. This is my opinion, which one has to be careful of, but you can give your opinion, and this is what it was. But there seemed, and what I was going to say was, maybe this is where also some of this wool buying had its genesis, because I know a tailor, you know, I can put you on a tailor, and a lot of barter system used to happen in those days. It wasn't all money, and we're going long, this is before my time, but the farmers, for instance, would send down a railway truckload of oats to the major stores, Beds or Bones,
Yeah.
and every week groceries would come up to that farm by train until the money ran out that they had sold the oats for. So wool was the same thing. It was a commodity which it was better than money. You know, your dad said to me once, actually, when we were having a hard time with wool prices, he said, Malcolm, he said, you have good wool, and he said, remember, it is like gold, good wool, because you may not get a lot for it when the prices are down, but he said, you will always sell it. He said, it's just like gold, you'll always sell wool. Now, the world's changed, but in those days, yeah, you didn't matter what it was in price. If it was good quality, people would buy it.
No, because one of the great things about wool, I mean, you just already got me onto another tangent. It's also it's very important factor in Australians' economic history.
Yes,
It's not perishable, basically.
yes,
Now, what, and it's quite clear that if maybe, I don't know, if maybe it was the big houses like Elders or whatever,
yeah.
they could have, if they wanted to, held onto the wool. It happened in the war. There was
Yes.
where a lot of the wool came onto the market after the war.
Yes.
Now, a farmer could, in theory, do the same thing. Could keep his wool and sell it and send it down when the price got better, couldn't he? Or was that just totally impractical?
No, it wasn't really impractical, except that the first thing was insurance, and your wool insurance policy stated from sheep's back to store, which meant that it was insured from the minute it came off the animal until they got it into their store, but it had to be delivered to that store as quickly as prudently possible. You couldn't say, well, I'm going to leave it in my shed without incurring another cost of extra insurance. So
You'd have to.
they would have had that. That would have been the first thing.
That might have been worth your while.
The second thing also, most farms, we had in our shed, we had room for 140 bales plus. We never had anything outside. But most, and by far the biggest majority of sheds, would never have held the amount of wool that the farmer actually had. So where are you going to store it? Because you're out in the elements, you can't leave it. So yeah, they could have hung on to it, but it would have been impractical to do it. Mark, would you led me to something else when you said that they could have been the price. Oh, the other thing, yeah, during the war, I mean, this will come out after the war, because I was sort of born right at the beginning of the war, so I don't remember much about it. But after the war, when wool prices soared, and I should have brought you up, I've got a 51 or 52 wool price advice, 242 pence a pound, and most of the farmers are making a huge amount of money, a pound for wool, but I think the wool check was something like 7,800 pounds that day, for that. That wasn't all the wool, but that was this particular invoice. 7,800 pounds for your wool. Down the bottom, the second last line was government wool tax 1,500 pounds. I know that out of just over 7,000, 1,500 you never even saw. The government put a special wool tax on.
Yeah.
So it just, you know, so.
But, and income tax afterwards.
And income tax after that, that's right. You never even got this 1,500 or this wool tax money into your bank account. It came straight from the seller into the into the government coffers. Yeah.
And that was something that was just of that period, or?
Just to that period, they put it on because they felt that the garden farm was making too much money out of wool.
There was some story, I mean, not more than a story, it was, again, Elton Butcher told me about it.
Oh, you've got up with the Elton Butcher, have you?
Yeah, okay. That after the war, that there was this thing like people were getting dividends because they'd stockpiled a lot of wool, and then after some, whatever the authority, there was some sort of reserve price thing which actually in the war they somehow managed to.
Well, yeah, because all the wool with I'm quite sure that the government had control of everything. There were some few oddments that the wool buyers could buy, but the wool, in effect, the bulk of the wool was under government control. Government controlled everything during the war. They knew exactly where everything was, what was happening to everything. We're on a different tangent at the moment, but I've also got, my father had outbreak of the war, he had a brand new Chef utility, and he had a Caterpillar type tractor, and I've got the letter from, it's a registered thing from the army saying, you will not take these two things off your farm unless we know about them, because we may just call in tomorrow and need them. So they knew where everything was. They knew all the wool was. You couldn't just sell it where you wanted to. So that may be controlled. But the other thing about farmers not being able to stockpile, which would prevent them stockpiling their sheds, is that contrary to popular opinion, most farmers really don't have a very big nest egg of money, and if something's produced, get the money for it to do what you need to do with it. So you couldn't really sit on that amount of money, which is what your wool was, until hope that the price go up, because it could go down.
Yeah.
I mean, the wool price, we used to distinguish wool price. There was wool sales every 3 weeks in Fremantle, and I think perhaps once a month in Albany. And you listened all the time to see what prices were doing. They used to go up and down, up and down.
The Albany was a bit later, and probably from the 60s or something.
Yes,
They
yeah, I
did
mean,
some
it
restructuring.
didn't last a long time either before they centralised it all into Fremantle.
Uh-huh.
But Albany did have its own wool stores and its wool sales at one stage for a short period. So you had all these things which came into the equation. The big thing with selling your wool privately, and we didn't always sell it privately. Nobody did always. I mean, but if you went year around, say, oh, this year it wasn't good enough, I'll do that, you chased your tail. So you generally, most farmers, I think, would have said, well, we'll look at a few years of see how we go, or maybe some of them didn't sell all of it. But your commissions and your railage and all those sorts of things become very expensive in wool selling. And when you are selling it privately, they say, okay, the price is on the place, that's it.
The transport.
You knew what you were going to get. Yeah, you could send it down to Fremantle to a wool sale, and that was the next thing. The wool sales were limited to, we will say, 100,000 bales a sale. Now, if there was 150,000 bales every 3 weeks coming into Fremantle, you might get the first wool sale would be in July. We might say the sale number 4 was in every 3 weeks. Sale number 4 might have been around about sometime September. You shore at the end of August. You set your wool down straight away, and they might say you'll be in sale number 8, because the backlog of wool, the wool was coming in faster than they sold it. So there was a lot of reasons why.
So that was that for you, as the farmer, you mean that was a problem like cash flow?
Well, yes, it was, because if you felt that wool was going to go down, you could say, well, look, I'd much rather sell it privately. Your dad would come along and say, yep, that's good. You had to have a finger on the pulse of what the market's going to do, and hopefully, I mean, he took the same risk. He said, well, we buy it, and then by the time it gets down there, his wool house, would be sweating on him to do the right thing, because if the price was going down and he paid too much for it, I mean, with you, wool buy wouldn't be around next year. That would be it. So it was, it was you were right. Australia wool did mean a lot to the economy of Australia, but and because of that, there all these extraneous, interwoven things that could happen, might happen. You know, you tried to read the fine line if you could and beat it, but
So by missing a few cells, I mean, you could lead the loser, you could have a windfall. By the same.
that was it. And that was the difference between, you see, if you know, if you're your dad, you would say, okay, that's it. And as far as I was concerned, we shook hands, that was the end of the tale. But I know there were some clients that would say, come back a fortnight later, as I was telling you, and the Wolves finally bailed up, you know, how much it's going to be, and Dad come out the contract, and they say, well, look, you know, sorry, but Wolves going up, and you know, I can do better. Now that would hurt your dad. And to me, that's not the way to do business. Because next year, when things come around, you know, your dad obviously can say, well, he has to go back because it's his business to sell, to buy wool. But it's how you've been dealt is how you're going to deal with people. You know? And, yeah, but
So would they buy for, you said, for a particular house?
yes.
Then that's for clients overseas that wouldn't go to auction again after that?
No, they would buy for Rick Robson was the company that Mark's dad bought for, one of them anyway. I think in the end, I'm trying to think, Lomans he bought for in the end.
Yeah,
it was Lomans.
Yeah, I think Robinson probably quit in the
Yes.
late 60s, early 70s.
Yes.
He left the business.
Yes, and then Lomans came on the scene, and they were a very big European company, I
They were
think.
Europeans.
Yes, and you see, they were European, so they had their mills. I think Lomans had their own mills.
I think so too.
Yeah, and so they were saving themselves a lot of bother too. They were saying, righto, we know somebody in the industry way out there in Australia who's a buyer. He's obviously got clients that he knows, and we've been through this where those that have got a cleaner shed and they're not going to get, you know, the wool's not going to get some sort of foreign body in it, because some places, some farms were really rough. I mean, I've heard things where, you know, there'd be so many sheep coming out of the shed and all of a sudden a pig would come racing through the shed and farms. You know, those things did happen. But bits of wire, I know guys who had wire, and even a bit of a hoof or a horn off a sheep, you know, you've got to keep those out, because your mill's teasing the wool after it's been washed. I mean, these things hit something solid and they're supposed to be teasing wool, you know, it's a break. So knowing that you've got a buyer who's got some idea what his clients are like, that's the beginning of the chain. That they're going to be happy to get their wool straight from Australia. No more wool that they didn't know its origin. Yeah. So he just said, righto, that's going to come straight into our mills. I think that's how Lomans worked.
I think maybe even Rex Robinson, they might have bought off the floor as well. I'm not.
Yes,
Probably Lomans
quite
did
sure.
buy it off the floor as well.
I'm quite sure they would do. Yes. I mean, if they didn't, they'd have contracts to need to fill to keep their mills running. And yeah, look, if you didn't get enough product, they'd have to. But there would be an advantage in this is the reason for the existence of people like that.
An interesting thing that I read about, and I'll maybe come back to it later, because you mentioned the word the community and Dad's part in the community, and that's really that's the main thrust of what I'd really like to get onto. But I read, and I can't remember my figures exactly, but in the early 60s, and this is a particularly West Australian phenomenon, there might have been something like 40% of the wool clip was going through private houses.
Yes.
Well, there's a particularly West Australian
Yes.
phenomenon. It existed in the East, but to a much lesser extent. And in fact, there was a bit of a tangle with big firms like Elders, and
Yes.
they didn't like that. And in those, in fact, the reps were predominantly Jewish men like my father. So, considering it was one of the major, in those days Australia was still riding on the ship's back, and maybe it's an indirect impact on the general community, but it's a very interesting statistic.
Well, you see, your dad stayed in, he lived in Karoo, like overnight. He would stay in Karoo, and he stayed in Woburn, and I don't know what other bowling clubs he belonged to, but I know that he was a member of the Bunting Bowling Club because it started up in 1966. And that was where your dad was a little different to a lot of the other jewellery buyers, that it wasn't just a business. These were people who were his customers or his clients, they were his friends, and yes, starting up a bowling club, and then he played bowls a couple of times in Bunting. I know he belonged to the bowling club.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Which, and I don't know that too many other people, not just Jewish wool buyers, but anybody who would have been in a similar situation, because there were lots of other travelling salesman type people around that came around quite regularly.
What other sort? What? Like, did you have on your farm? Did you have like permanent hands?
Yes, most of them did. We did. Yes.
And let's say, for example, Mr. Watley said he did. But what other sort of salesmen would you
come
have
around?
contact
Well,
with?
okay. There used to be there was a company called Relay. Now, do you remember Relay? Not that you came from the country, but Relay was a brand name. The Relay salesman came out.
Condiments and pharmaceutical type things.
Oh, pots and pans, anything. They just sold anything to do with the kitchen or the homestead. They came around all the time. There were people who sold tools that used to come around all the time. Even some of the oil companies that didn't have reps living in town would come. They all came around a lot. You know, you had. I've kept a diary nearly all my life. I've had a diary, and you'd look at it and you would see the different travellers that called in. So there were a lot, and particularly these ones I mentioned, Relay, and there was the welding people, West Australian Steel Products, I think it was, WASP, they used to call in. But they didn't, they were just here to do the business.
You had your stock reps and people coming around.
Yes, they
furniture
did.
machinery.
They came around a lot, but then a lot of those were domiciled in a local town anyway, and they would join the things, but not many joined. I don't know of anybody else that joined it like your dad did, really. You know, I guess he enjoyed the hospitality of country people. He enjoyed what he was doing.
I think he liked the Australian directness, and I suspect in the country it's
Yes.
even more so.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He did. And I think I might have said it before to you, but it never ceased to amaze me when I look back that, okay, I don't know how many clients your dad might see, he could see perhaps if they were close handy shearing and the farms weren't too far apart, he could maybe see 5 a day, and he would perhaps see 20 a week, just say he saw 20 now. Before he started, he may have quite a few, he might have 6 or 7 that he was going to pay this oddments money out to that he'd seen over the last couple of weeks. Now, they would say, okay, how much have you got? Well, we thought I know some guys did it a lot. How much have you got? Oh, well, this looks like it's about $250. And they weighed a lot. It's $500. Now, the hand would just go in the pocket and there's the money. They were never accosted. They were never rolled. They were never held up. These guys left. He wasn't the only. Just imagine them all fanning out from the city on a Monday morning with their long pockets full of money to pay farmers, and so they were pretty well respected. They really were, because not to try today really. I don't know whether you could do it today.
When your wool was bought on the property like that, private contract, who paid for it to get down to the city?
Well, generally they paid the freight, not always, but generally it was on the place. It was on the farm. That's the price on the farm. You knew that was your net price. You were not going to have to pay any other costs. They would get it down. They would organise the trucks. They'd ring up West Rail or WAGR as it was then. Oh yes, sometimes they'd say, I'm going through town, Kim, and say, I'll call you and see the railway's on the way.
Well, who would get it? You would take it to the siding?
We still took, yes, we took it to the siding. We did. We still carted it to the siding. But the rail freight, we loaded it and it was done.
So if you got it, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 bales,
Yep.
Well, that's what, a semi or a
So,
few truckloads?
well, we would we had when we had that many bales, we had 2 trucks, and just from memory, we would perhaps get. I would have to think quickly here. I think I've got some photos about 4. We might. I think we would have perhaps needed four trips, 2 with each truck, so they'd both go in and come back and go back again.
So how many did you allow on each truck, each time?
Yeah.
How many did you
Well,
load
that's what I
on?
was trying to think out.
About 9.
I was trying to work it out. We would have got about 40, got 35 to 40 bales, because they're the old type wool packs, which were made of jute. Now that was another thing that happened. You know, the jute wool packs. So your dad also sold wool packs. He would come around and say,
From about the 70s, yeah.
yep, he did, yes. He'd say, right, what's the wool packs? Got some wool packs. But the wool packs, Afghanistan, I think it was Afghanistan, we used to get, most of the jute wool packs came, and then they had a bust up in the country, and the jute industry died, and we had to find something else of which to make wool packs, or manufacturers did. Jute wool packs used to sort of grip each other when you stack one on top of another. Then we got these polyester type things and woven things, and they were so slippery. You really had to rope them on your loaded wool, because you could see them getting in, 20 miles out of town. By the time you got there, you could see that the load was. Guys would drive on the wrong side of the road with a camber to keep them fight it, terrible stuff. But yes, your dad used to.
So how many bales, get back to this, how many bales did you get on a truck?
Well, I said we've got about
35 on each time on a truck?
35, yeah. So if a couple of times we had around about 130 something bales, and I think we would have had 2 trips to each truck.
Okay. I really wouldn't have thought you'd got that many on.
Oh yeah, well, yes, because you would get, see the trucks were 20, say 7 metres long, and I reckon we'd get, we used to have them, they were over width, but I mean, we were lucky we didn't go through town, we just hit town, we were done. We didn't have to go through a major town. Otherwise the police would have been out measuring the distance of your truck, but you had them well over. And I think we used to get, we could put 2 crossways, and they stuck out a bit, so perhaps we've got about, what's that, about 8, that's 16. Then you come in the next one you get 30 something, just under 30. You've been 3 high. Oh, you definitely got 35
Okay.
bales, yeah, to a truckload, yeah.
It's sort of added interest. When did your family move to the region?
My family, one of my uncles went there first in 1915, and he went on the first train that ever ran by government railways on that railway line, 1915. Then another one up, my grandfather went up there in about 1918, I think. They were there since then. There's still one family up there. There's still David Syme, and he'd possibly be worth seeing. He's just out of Bunteen. David's there. He's my generation, but a bit older. But his dad and my dad were brothers. And I know that he used to sell to Ken on occasions. And none of these people I'm giving you couldn't guarantee they sold that every year. But but I know that he did do business with Ken, Michael and David. So he would be. He'd also. He is 966.
I'll get it later.
Okay. Yeah, David Syme. Yeah.
Just take some.
Yes. So yeah, that's so they were there a long time, and then we had our own property down there, which was, and I ended up in incorporating my father's place with it. Mark, yeah, we had a lot of we had good wool, we had good sheep. We liked what we were doing with them. Some people, they found them as a bit of a nuisance, but they needed them. I like animals. You've got to like animals, you've got to understand animals, you've got to have patience with animals. Sheep can be pestering things at times. Oh, yes.
Not too bright.
They're not dumb, they're smart. Okay,
Yeah.
Smart people quite often. Yeah. And of course, the peripheral thing you had, then of course you had sheepdogs, and that was another thing which we.
But imagine wheat was usually the mainstay.
Wheat was, yes, but I could get these figures for you. I think.
Sheep gave you a cash flow though, didn't they? Because you
Oh, they did
could
do.
buy and sell them
Um,
in between times if you needed to.
yeah, if you had, well, let's put it this way: we had a very particular dry period of years, and it's 30 years ago now. It's 1976. Now, to create a cash flow, which you've got to have in business, cash flow is a big thing. And if the banks see that it's going up and down, that's fine. If it's going down, that they get worried. But so having wool coming in, even though it's only for a month or so, you've got a bit of funds coming in. I shore 3 times in 2 years. That was every 8 months once, because it was premature wool. They used to call prem wool, and sometimes prem wool was you got a premium for it. But as Jen said, it gave you cash flow. It was something you could do. You couldn't make your crop grow if you didn't get it. But as long as you could feed your sheep, they'd produce something for you. But yeah, crop was major. But in the end, I suppose our wool was, or our sheep part of the enterprise would have been. I'm just trying to work it out. We had about 5,000 something or other sheep, a bit over 5,000, and say there was 4,000 in round figures growing sheep, and we had fairly good sheep. They would averaged a bit over 5 kilos. So I think some years we got 27,000 kilos of wool. So if you looked at $4 a kilo, you turned $100,000. So it was still a fair bit of money. It was a lot of money. Jan said you had your sheep, excess sheep which you sold. But those that didn't like them, but just had them as a necessary evil, as an adjunct to wheat growing, didn't make as much out of them, didn't care if they made as much out of them.
And a lot sold them in the drought years when there wasn't feed. They just
They did, yeah.
got rid of all their sheep.
The other thing which happened to the wool industry, and particularly where your dad was operating, and I couldn't tell you when, but in the late 50s, autumn shearing started coming into prominence. At one stage, all the sheep, shearing started in the end of June, beginning of July, and people shored July, August, September, October, bit of November. The low-fly problem was a huge problem with sheep. If you hadn't shorn by the end of October, you were in terrible strife. Long before that, actually, I suppose, you could be in strife. And then somewhere along the line, someone said, well, we'll shear the sheep in autumn, we'll shear sheep in March. And we ended up changing to March shearing. It meant you had one prem wool, because you would shear in say August this year, and then next year you're going to change, so you'd shear in March, so your wool was only 4 months short of where you were.
And what's the advantage of that?
The advantage of it
Was it a better wool, or was it just getting ahead of the
No,
market?
the wool never looked as nice. Spring wool had a bloom on it because the sheep had green feed, and the wool looked lovely, and it was clean. There'd been rain, there was still some dust in it, but it looked clean. It looked, if you like selling a book with a cover, it really looked lovely. But then they found that with autumn shearing, the wool was dustier, but there was less grease in it, and let's face it, they didn't want to buy grease, they were buying wool. So it had this dry look compared to the greasy spring shearing. It looked dry, it didn't look really as nice, but there was more wool and less grease in the per kilo that they were buying. It also made your sheep handling easier, because you are shearing in August, September, October and July. It's wet. It doesn't matter how large your shed is with regard to shearing sheep capacity. You can only keep them in the shed so long. I mean, they've got to get out to be fed, and the shearers can't shear them if they're wet, so you can lose a lot of time. Wet sheep, shearers go away, you'd have to sheep near the shearing shed to get them in and out of the rain. A lot of those things, nice and dry in autumn, March, April, lovely time to shear. It was also the other thing, that if you had your lambs, they generally had lambs in say May, June. You couldn't shear them if you were shearing in July, they're too small, so you had to get the shearers back in October to shear your lambs. This way you could get your lambs crutched, which was just cleaning up the breech. They were born in May, June, just the same. You would shear them the following March. So lots of your sheep handling was easier. And in the end, there was at least as much shearing done in autumn.
But you would, the major clip would be shorn once a year, right?
Once a year.
So, I mean, alright, you just sort of, you might turn over, change to autumn instead of,
Yes.
but once you were there, you stayed on that course.
That's right, you would stay on it. Now your dad, what that would have done for the wool buyers is that, now when you were young, I guess your dad would have he would have bought crutchings in the autumn, but his major wool buying would have been in the spring.
Probably, yeah.
And he would have been very busy in that period. But then when we went to so many of them doing it in autumn, his wool buying season was suddenly nearly all year.
Yeah.
So he was away from home more and more. Mum's been terribly busy, gee, this lady, look at this.
Need a hand with that?
You're determined to give you a nice cup. Have you got
Yeah.
enough room here?
Yes, I can.
You need a
It's
hand
very
there?
nice.
Okay.
Don't need it. It's all right.
Okay.
Everything.
And where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school? I went to high school in Geraldton.
Uh-huh.
I went to state school, primary school in Bunty, and went to high school in Geraldton. You either had Geraldton, generally you either had Geraldton or Northern, those country high schools. The colleges, if you want to go to Perth.
Your keys.
Pardon, Jen? Keys? There you go. Leave my little notebook out.
Well, I only asked for the keys.
Pardon?
I only asked for the keys.
Oh, okay. In the road, all right. So, yeah, what else would you like to know?
Where you went to school?
Where you stayed, yeah, in Geraldton.
School.
Okay, so, and then, and you were on the farm like working on the farm from what age to?
Yes, I worked on the farm from the time I was 15. I didn't wish to leave school, but both my parents were very sick, because of my history now.
Mm-hmm.
They were both very sick. Mum died not that long afterwards, a couple of years. So I didn't wish to leave school, but I did, and I like farming, there's no doubt. I mean, it's a great lifestyle. Now it's gone. The farming, the community, the lifestyle in the country is just so different now. If you take little towns like Bunteen, Latham, Maya, they were all one after the other. Was where we were, there was Bunteen, then there was Maya, then there was Latham. South of Bunteen was Woburn, where Dad used to stay. Now they all had several shops. They would have butcher shops, some of them, 2 or 3 grocery shops, hardware shops, machinery agents. Bunteen had 5 petrol bars down the main street. You know, there was pictures twice a week in Bunteen. Now there is no shop in Maya, no shop in Latham, no shop in Bunteen. There's half a shop in Woburn. The Woburn Hotel is closed. We're talking about a distance of between Dalwallinu and Perenjori of something like 110 k's or something. And you know, we have a town with 2 shops in it. So it's gone. You know, that won't ever come back. You know, what your dad did would never be able to be done again, because the farm would just be swallowed up. And this, you know, you talk about Pearson, see, they have no sheep. They just went out of their sheep altogether.
And what's besides the farms, sort of gathered the farms, a lot of farms have been amalgamated into one farm. Machinery's gone huge.
Huge.
But
Yes.
so I gather in terms of the town and the community, there's some process going on there as well. What's happened there?
Well, the community now, it's just, there are so few people in the community that and the other thing is the sad thing is that the average age of the farmer
Thank you.
is increasing dramatically, because when things get tight, and this dad can say 2 sons on a farm. Thank you. The farm can't sustain the 3 of them. Who's going to leave? Who's going to get the job in the city usually? The younger guy. So they leave, and the older father stays on. So our farming, the age of our farm is just going up and up and up. And it's a sad situation.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Friend of my family.
Oh, you got to visit them.
Hello.
Hello.
Do it.
Come and sit there. Nothing.
Malcolm and
Senta mais.
Jan's son.
Yeah, my wife.
Don't worry. I'll explain to them.
Come and sit there. You can-
Take a quick
We're
break.
going to have some editing to do.
On the side is fine. So, the whole community is changing.
It has changed. There wouldn't be 10% of the people left. That's what there were. Of course, you know, I'm talking now about the last 40, 50 years.
10% wouldn't be the population,
In the country,
and the land is still worked the same way.
Yeah.
The land is producing the same.
the land is producing the same, but it's a little bit like the supermarket. You know, the supermarket sells 5,000 cans of beans and makes a tiny bit on every one. The corner store has to sell 10 cans and make a lot. Farming's the same
Now,
now.
do you like it weaker or strong like that? Have a look, please, because I have hot.
How strong?
There's just some water in it, thank you, would be good.
I don't know. I know ladies, they don't like strong.
No, I don't mind it.
I'm going to put it down on the table so you don't get burnt.
Must be pretty dry up there, you are too.
Oh, it's pretty dry now. Yes, it's dry this year. But
Thank you very much, it's lovely.
look, Mark, I know that in
Please
about
put it on milk.
1960,
There is the cream, sugar.
No. Okay.
No, you have it black.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I should have made it weaker.
Thank you, that's lovely.
That'd be better. Now yours is white or black.
white, please. Mrs.
Now you can
Yep.
take a
Thank you.
nice strong cup of tea.
Yep.
Like that Saska.
That'll be lovely, my word, yes.
Who's
When
on
can you
your
want it?
farm there? Are you sold that or are you
I have,
children?
yes, I have 3 boys, but I have sold my farm. We have sold our farm.
They didn't want to farm.
They love the farm, but we're getting back to this, what's in the country for young people.
Yeah.
In 1960, 61 maybe, there was pictures in Bunteen twice a week. And I know that on one Saturday night there was
Strong center.
300 and something people. You wouldn't get 300 people now between,
Bantine, Tim Gerald and Ruben.
well, between Perenjori and Dalwallon now, you wouldn't
Yeah.
get 300 people.
And if the pubs are closed,
Windmill.
Yes.
The Women Hotel was a hive of activity.
They go to the club in Dalwallon, then the
Yeah.
hotel still works in Dalwallon.
yeah, I thought the woman
can
was on
sit
and
in the
off,
middle.
was still running.
Center.
Well, the
It
last
will
I
be
heard,
much
it
more
is
comfortable.
closed.
I mean, you
That
can
was-
sit very
And
small.
it may have
comfortable.
opened since, but we were there a few months
Black
ago
or
now, and it was
Oui.
closed then. It was no
Or
longer.
normal.
Would you know who would have been the
Who
publicans
had
around
been
those
at the
times?
hotel? Yes. During the time your dad was there,
Yes.
at the beginning there would
I
have
mean,
been a guy
it's
called
always
Boise Jackson.
not a problem because
I don't know what his first real name was, but Boise Jackson owned the hotel in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
he didn't
the name
understand
he had.
it.
Well, the chances that he's around.
Then there was
Then just had I come and see you on that.
then Eric Seidlin.
Or do you have someone come and get mine?
It was
Sorry, I
Seidlin.
thought that you are coming
Eric
to
Seidlin.
IDE
Land.
land.
Unless it's
Yes,
necessary.
he had it. Then Rudy Muller had it after him. You'll think I used to frequent the hotel, I didn't. Rudy Muller,
Where are you going?
um,
I sit there.
I don't know who had it after.
There are a few names anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, they were some of the guys that had the hotel. I didn't think it would ever close. Woburn Hotel was Wild West stuff.
Ruben is closed, the hotel.
The Woburn Hotel is closed. Woburn has one shop left. Bunting has no shop. Latham has no shop.
Get up, please.
Right, yep.
Dalwallon's taken over there.
Dalwallon's got one major shop
Did you?
No chemist,
Sugar?
no chemist in Dalwhinnie.
Sugar?
No,
They
not
still
that.
have
Sugar?
two grocery shops though.
Two grocery shops, have they? Yeah.
No, no. It's all
Well, there's two shops in Dalwhinnie, sorry, but yeah, it's sad. It is sad, yeah.
Let put a bit of
It'll
cream
probably
on.
get worse after this year, because this year.
Well, I don't think this will make any difference.
No.
I think what's happening is happening good years or bad years.
You-
And
Can I put on cream for you?
thank you. Yes. You know, we our boys all have, you know, good employment, good jobs.
no,
No,
So
nothing.
Mark, a bit of cream.
they just said, well, what there is no social life. Not that social life is everything, but
Certainly
you no longer meet young women in the country. The girls, there's nothing for the women to do. All the girls leave the country.
But the time, look what's happening in Perth, the bashing that's going on. Look at this, and then I buy the paper today, and on the front page, a young man gets bashed up for no reason.
Yes, for no
and
reason.
it's going on every night.
Yes. Yes.
And well, it says today in the paper, the city is dying. People are afraid to go out.
Well, we were just saying on that theme, years ago, the wool buyers would go through the country on a Monday morning and they would have all this cash. Nobody ever touched it.
Exactly.
They couldn't do that today.
I know that.
Today it would be frightening.
I haven't been in the bush now for nearly 20 years.
Yes. Where were you when you were going in the bush?
I was going everywhere.
Okay.
From York to Timbuktu, put it this way. I had an open ticket. I could go everywhere from my bush.
Okay. Yep.
So is there no private wool buying?
Oh yes,
being
there are still some private wool buyers.
Oh yes, they store in Meriden stores.
Yes.
Yeah, there's still stores in the country.
But
At the small wool
The wool buying, the country as far as wool goes hasn't changed. As long as there is sheep, there will be wool.
wool, yes. Yes.
But the old wool buyers have died there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Mm.
What do you expect me to do? I'll be 83 the end of this month, end of this year.
Yes.
I'm not buying wool. I had a bypass surgery I had nearly 20 years ago,
Yes.
open heart surgery.
Yes.
That's when I said it's enough.
Yes. Yep. That's because the farmers gave you too hard a time.
No, I wouldn't say that. I reckon the farmers are wonderful people.
Yeah. Well.
I don't need the spoon.
I've never had a complaint about a farmer or a farmer. All they have to be is honest.
Yes.
Honestly, hide everything.
That's what I was saying this man here. Yep. Honesty, and you're right. Your word is your bond.
I didn't. Yeah, there was the technical thing I didn't get when that you explained right at the beginning, like the point where the shearing would be going on. The wool buyer would come in,
Yes.
maybe fix a price even before the wool is over. Before the shearing is over. Come back in a couple of weeks when all the wool's packed up, and then it's something like a figure like 200. You said through the figure. I don't know.
Well,
Of
okay.
250 shekels for the shearers. That sort of that surprised me.
Let's go back. It could work like this.
No, this one.
You start shearing,
You can.
wool buyer comes
You
in
don't
when he
want
has
to
a
sound-
look, and he will say to you, are you shearing ewes, whether you're shearing wethers, okay. When will you be on ewes? I'll come back 4 days time, have another look.
Now, of half an hour later,
And then that's when he would say, well, I can get you, he's seen quite a bit of wool, I'll get you a price. He might come back the next day with if he could get it or not. You say, okay, you could accept that price because he has seen a fair average quality of what your wool's going to be. So he would say, okay, you happy with that? If you're happy with, not happy with it, you come back at the end. But you could say, that sounds all right to me, but we don't know how much wool there will be. He will say, he also, after a 4 day shearing, they just look at your wool and they say, well, you've got so many bales of your top line, second line, so many bales of pieces. He's got an idea of how clean your wool is. So that then he could offer you a price. Not always, but he could do. And that's what I say then he would say, all right, when will you finish? I will finish in, if it rains, then it might be another 10 days before you are finished. and it's all packed up, say, how many bales did you get? Because it all has to be written down in the book, and all the bales are stenciled, matches the book, must correlate. Your dad would say, righto, where's your species book? Here it is. Righto, you got 34 bales of 3 AM, you got 5 bales of 2 AM, 1 bale 1 AM, 3B, blah blah blah, 14 bales of lambs, and he would say what each one was worth.
Yeah.
When it got down, they weighed it, then you got the money. It would be paid when it went to Perth.
And no, would the most normal situation be when to fix the prices when everything's when all the shearing's finished? Because strictly speaking, every classification I gather would bring in a different price.
That's right, yes, and yep, and yes, it would generally when it was finished, that's right. But he would still, I mean, your dad was buying wool all the time, we were growing wool all the time.
Yeah.
And they would, you would know, you would say, well, look, you know, we're going to have around about, you know, we might, I was just trying to, it's hard to remember because it's
A long time ago.
14 years since I grew wool.
Yeah.
But you say, okay, well, you know, it would be something like this, 1 bale of pieces in every 7 bales of fleece wool is pretty good. Okay, if you were getting 1 in every 5, he would know there was a lot of burr in it. He would look for all those sort of things. And then he would say, well, I can offer you, you know, 140 for your top line. And if you got your main wools locked in, then the other ones were a bit negotiable because
Yeah.
it was, you were getting 95% of your clip in those main lines of wool.
You got a new air conditioner.
And
Yep.
the situation where he's buying
On the farm.
while you're shearing, is that the same as what they call buying off the sheep's back? Was that something else?
No, no, you could
sell.
you could sell your sheep off the sell your wool off the sheep's back. That was, they would just come along and say, look, I know what your wool is like last year. We will give you 200 cents for your top wool, 180 for your second on the sheep's back, delivery in 2 months' time.
Yeah, because like I would imagine that okay, outside of seasonal changes, a bit more rain this year, a bit less rain, you know, not counting for extreme years like now, your clip wouldn't necessarily change too much. Maybe I'm wrong there.
Changed dramatically.
Uh-huh.
Yes, if it's sudden dry, if you sold too far in advance, they wouldn't do that. They would sell on the sheep's back. We never did it, but I would imagine perhaps 2 months in advance. You knew what you were going to get for your wool. You're going to be shearing 2 months' time. You knew today what you're going to get. You were both taking a calculated risk that wool was going to stay fairly stable. In 2 months it wouldn't change a lot, but from at the beginning, say you had like this year now, we had a lot of rain, 10 inches of rain up until April up our way. Plenty of feed, good feed, the wool coming off dry feed onto green feed, the wool changes, gets a grease, away it would go. Now that they've had a very hard time, that wool would stop growing, even break.
Mm-hmm.
Get a break in the wool. That diminishes the value very rapidly, break in the wool, because the spinners can't get this full length of wool. It's got break in it. So something like that would make a big difference in the value of your fleece and your clip. But normally, over a 2 month period, a normal year, there wouldn't be a lot of difference. But
Thank you very much for
I'm just covering myself to say that, yes, sometimes things would.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means the weather from year to year could have a big of effect on the quality of the wool and then your price.
A lot of people say to you, farmers would say, the biggest change in your wool is what goes down the sheep's throat. Yes.
What?
The biggest difference in your wool was what went down the sheep's throat. You know, some people say, oh, we have good wool, we have the best sheep, but if you didn't feed them, they didn't get good food. No.
Did you work for Robinson, Rex Robinson too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the wool buyers are working for him, right?
It's a long time gone past this. Look,
You can't remember.
don't take
Don't
bring up stories that Rex Robinson is dead years ago, and I've been working there 40 years ago.
Did you work for Lomans?
Yes.
Yes. Did they have their own mill in Germany?
In England, Germany, they had, yeah.
They had mills.
Yeah,
I said to Mark,
yeah,
I thought they had their own mills.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, well, Loman had it, but before that Rex Robertson didn't have. And Mark wants to write about the old times. He doesn't want to write exactly what's today. He wants to try to write what it used to be a wool buyer's life.
You know what they were.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
it is not what I want.
Well,
I
we were
know.
all the same.
Pardon?
We were all
Yeah.
the same. They were going to the country and we were home and bringing up
Yeah.
the children.
Right.
What do you want players like?
It was not nothing in the earth wrong with it, but if what I say, everybody has a different experience. And if you want to write something, you listen to people. You have a
Well, you
different.
have a farmer here, you listen to that farmer and he can explain and tell you everything about the sheep, and about the wool, and about selling it, about everything. You don't have to ask any more people anything. You got a man, he'll tell you everything.
He's telling us a lot, yeah.
You sure? Well, that's it. I can't tell you much. I can't tell you and I won't.
I can only tell even less. So, anyway, whatever. It's
How
a
long are
free
you
will.
going to be over here finding out?
2 or 3 weeks. About 3 weeks here on this. And then
You
we
know
go
what
to
I
Sydney.
told him when he rang me up? I said, you go to yeah, I didn't know that Woburn is closed. I told him, you go to the Woburn Hotel, and there you'll find out everything.
yes, everything.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I didn't know that Woburn is closed.
Yes, now your dad
Just shows you.
would stay at the Woburn Hotel.
Yeah.
He would walk in of a night time to the Woburn Hotel. He would see most of the shearers.
And most of the
Oh,
farmers. And you know where they
Oh,
shear
come
and
on, the
everything.
farmers
Yeah.
were too poor.
There was some
But he
farmers
would,
there.
he would see them. Where you shearing? What's happening? You know, he would know what's going on.
Yeah. Years later, you know, when the jargon changed, it was it said it was networking.
He was. That's right. They call it networking.
How long has it been closed now, Woburn?
Well, it's been dying a slow death. It would be open for a while and closed for a while, and I think one of the things which closed it was not making sufficient money for its upkeep.
Yeah.
And of course, the liquor licensing laws are such that they can come round and say, look, the place isn't good enough
Yeah,
order,
exactly.
lose your licence.
Yeah.
So it was running pretty ad hoc for a while, and the last time we were through, it was closed. It may be open again now, but the Perengerie Hotel was opening at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And it's closed all day
Yes,
until that till
till
4
4
o'clock.
o'clock in the afternoon.
And what about the people who are mining is around Woburn?
In the
Where do they
mines,
sleep? Yes. There is quite a bit of mining.
there was a lot of mining, but the mine's closed down too. That gold mine is closed. It's on a caretaker business because it may open up now that gold's going up again, but you know, it was on the fringe of whether it was going to be able to.
Under what, who owned it? Or what company did this belong to?
Oh,
Just if you happen to
oh,
remember.
I think it was called Boddington Gold Mines. I think because it was they owned the mine at Boddington. I know that.
I'm making a note of Boddington Gold Mines.
I think it was Boddington.
Well, if there's minerals, wouldn't that be more in the direction of Karoo, or in the region? Maybe I'm mistaken there.
In the direction of what?
Karoo.
Kuru.
The minerals.
Yeah, in general.
These are going out like Mount Magnet, go east and north to get
East
your
and
gold.
northeast.
Because in Perengerie Shire there was Matana Minerals opened Rothsay. Now your dad would have gone out to Carrara was a station I couldn't think of. He would have gone to Wanara, Warradar, Carrara. I don't know whether he went much further out than that, but that was because both Derwalney and Perengerie Shires, so they're the ones I know a bit about. They had farming, arable farming, and they also had parts of their shire which were just pastoral, just sheep stations. And of course that's where a lot of your mineralisation is too. And in Ross they had Matana Minerals mining for gold. We actually went down their gold mine
Okay.
at one stage.
How would, I mean, I'm just trying to get a handle on, I don't know if we would be able to do it, like, if you could, what was your community? Because it's not, I would guess that it's not a question of it didn't have a boundary of the Shire because he obviously knew people
No, it didn't have
all
to be.
around.
No,
But
well,
it's a mixture of look, in the old days. It was you're saying there were a lot more townspeople than there are now. And what was
yes,
the relationship?
in the old days, Mark, when I played football, I went to Latham, which was
What much water was that? Didn't know this one.
20 miles away. We'll talk
Want a
miles.
little more fluid?
20 miles away. I went to Woburn, which was 15, Dalwallinu, which was 30, Cathara, which was 38, Bellague, which was about 50 at the most, and Killarney, which was about 38. Now that was, we played football.
That was your league.
That was our league.
Yeah.
Now, before, when we left Bunteen 14 years ago, 13 years ago, we were asked to go down to a football match that the local team was playing in. The local team now is Dalwallinu. So
Thank you very much.
Latham, Bunteen, Woburn, Pathara have all gone. It's just they've amalgamated into one, Dalwallinu, and they travel about 135 miles to play their game of football. They went down to Bindoon, Gingin, to Gingin.
Gingin.
Now, you know, this is what's...
It's
So
like
they
in
drive
the
home.
And people and all the farmers would come down with them to watch the match.
Oh, yeah, they would. But
These
the thing
days?
is, you see, we used to play football on Saturday, because it was only, say, an hour home, or an hour and a half. If your football finished at, say, 5:30, you showered and you're on your way, you were home by 7, you could have your tea and go out by 8 o'clock to a dance. Now, if you travel 120 miles, there's no way, if it was Saturday football, you're going to get home and go out, you're going to be exhausted. So, you've killed that bit of the community activity. And that's just one of them. That's just one example of what's happened. It's dead.
When were the churches very active?
The churches were active. I know that in Dalwallinu that they had the Christian churches they had were Uniting, which was your Presbyterian Congregational Methodist. You had your Anglican, you had your Baptist, you had your Catholic.
There was a Catholic school.
Yes, we had a Catholic school. So there were at least 4, maybe 5 churches in Dalwallinu that were running all the time. The only church that's in Dalwallinu now, and Plymouth Brethren were there then, but in a minority. I think Plymouth Brethren is the only one that's got a resident minister in Dalwallinu.
And they have their own
What
school.
church is that representing?
Pardon?
What church is that minister representing?
What are they called?
The Brethren.
Plymouth Brethren.
Just the Plymouth Brethren.
Yes, which is you know a different type of church to the old established ones. But the churches have gone. There's a church in Latham.
They have lay preachers at the churches.
Yes, they do have lay preachers, Jan, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
And years ago, if you go back to your 50s and 60s, there were also railway people.
Yeah.
Because the trains were running all the time, so they had gangers and people like that living in the towns.
yeah, Bunteen had at least seven families in the town that were employed by the railways.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. The railway line doesn't run now between Woburn and Maya.
How do the trucks are doing all the deliveries?
They're just,
Yeah, the truck.
now it's all trucks. The trains come down to Maya from Geraldton and up to Woburn from Kwinana,
That's it.
a bit in the middle of
There
the
you are.
What team do you follow now, the Duckies or the Eagles?
The Eagles.
Because the Duckies are playing now.
Yes, they are playing today. Yes.
Which do you follow?
I follow the Eagles, but I like to watch the Duckies too.
You're
I
like
follow
me.
the two.
You're a West Australian.
Yeah,
Yes.
I follow the two.
Yeah.
Yes, they're your number 2. If the Dockers play the Eagles, then
That's right.
the Eagles have got to
The
win.
Eagle, that's right.
But it wasn't that. Last time
But
they
if the
played.
Duckers play another team, I like to see
That's
them win.
oh, so do I.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
as a West Aussie, that's
When the Eagles played,
Adelaide.
not Adelaide,
no St Kilda.
St Kilda, I listened to the Violets, and I found out that they won. So I said,
Is the Bunting bowling club still going?
The Bunting Bowling Club's still going, but it
Big
started in '66, and at one stage, say by 1970, we were selecting 32 bowlers every Saturday for pennants, and when we had some reserves, they are now battling to get 12 pennant players. So, you know, you've got 30% in round figure.
You never have a big enough town to. I heard that Wagen used to have 2 football teams.
Yes,
The team that was more associated with the city, with the town folks,
yes.
and the other team was more the farmers.
That happened generally too in most towns.
Yeah.
Yes, in most towns, yeah.
Maybe Dalwallinu was big enough. I don't know.
But you see,
Well, they only
Dalwallinu,
had one team, didn't they?
they only have one team in Dalwallinu. Matter of fact, Dalwallinu, when they were the hub of the football league, but they had a terrible football team. They were easy to beat. The biggest town, they're easy to beat. Yeah.
But they also had I think they still play tennis in Bunting.
Yes.
They don't. They used to have badminton, which they don't have anymore.
I can tell you that there's so little that happens, but I can, as a young person, could go to the pictures on Saturday night. I could go to golf. I could play football Saturday, pictures Saturday night, go to golf on Sunday.
No, thank you very much.
And you have to, if you try. Come on. I need you
You're going to have to roll me out the door.
that will be all right.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to try one of these too. Thank you. And then pictures on Monday night again. There'll be badminton Tuesday and pennant badminton on Wednesday. There was a junior farmers on Thursday. There was youth fellowship on Friday, and you were back to Saturday going to the pictures game. You could go out every night.
And you haven't even started on Country Women's Association.
No.
Ladies had some things to do, I suppose, as well. Country Women's, that'd be one thing. What did the ladies have to do socially?
Feeding shearers, which wasn't social, but that was a big thing.
A woman's life
They played
was.
sport. There was
Sport.
a hockey team there for a while, and the tennis and
They
badminton.
had some activity,
Kindergarten, you had to run your own
except being
kindergarten,
the husband.
Oh yeah.
preschool thing.
Apart from a
Well, you
housewife,
get a
yes.
few families together and run a kindergarten.
I think he would
the
be
ones that have the young
interested.
children
Yes. Will you be interested
get
in that?
together.
Oh
and
yes, I mean
the
that
ball.
it's a
When
life,
the
a
railways
farmer's
closed down
life.
again,
Yes,
the
you
What
have
it
Excuse us.
Okay.
I'm going to watch the duckies.
Oh,
Nothing
all
but
right.
you get all the information you need.
You want to know about the farmer's wife,
Oh yeah, that's another
what their
question.
life was like. I'll tell you a little bit from my point of view, and it wouldn't hurt for Jan to tell you what's going on.
Yeah,
Because,
the truth.
yeah, well, you
I'm
see,
married. I know.
we had married couples, partly living on the farm and permanent labour, and then I decided that we were going to run it ourselves, just Jan and I, with staff for seeding and harvesting and shearing. Shearing was by contract.
Mm-hmm.
We had, in the end, Mark, we had 4 New Zealand shearers
Yeah.
and 4 contract, which meant that they supplied everything. All I did was get the sheep into the shed and take them away. They shore the sheep, they penned the sheep up, they baled the wool, they counted the sheep out, they provided their own meals, a lot. It costs a lot of money, but that's why they did it. And those 4 were shearing about 200 a day each, which was that's a lot of sheep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 800 sheep a day going through your shed. That made a big difference to. Did you wish to see those people off?
No.
But